Welcome back to The Takeout. Thanks for hanging out with us. I want to turn back to our top story, the arrest of that's what we call him now, ex-Prince Andrew. Emotional day for the family of the late Virginia Giuffre. She had said she was trafficked to engage in sex with him, Andrew, when she was underage. Earlier in this program, I spoke to Virginia's brother, Sky Roberts, and his wife, Amanda, who are taking today's arrest, this is their words, as a kind of victory and vindication, but are pretty critical of officials in this country, saying they have not done enough when it comes to either transparency or prosecutorial follow-up on the Epstein files revelations. Listen.
If you read the files, and I'm sure you have, there's so many moments where it's disgusting. I mean, you can tell clearly that the person behind that redacted name is clearly implicated. That person needs to be investigated by our DOJ and by the President of the United States and its administration.
Amanda, how much confidence do you have that will happen, that those investigations will be launched, and that accountability, criminal or civil, will be realized?
To say particularly in this specific Department of Justice and Pam Bondi, I have zero confidence in her. The fact that we were sitting 3 feet away and she couldn't even turn around to acknowledge us. But what I will say is this, is now that we have the power, we have seen what they are willing to do and not do. And so this is actually our choice. We need to look at our representatives. We need to look at Congress to take whatever actions necessary to keep pushing this forward. It must be uncovered. We must see further indictments. And I would say this, anyone in our administration, especially in the Department of Justice, if you are not willing to expose predators and do right by the survivors in this case, then you should resign.
I want to bring in our political panel now, Republican strategist and former principal deputy press secretary under President Trump, Harrison Fields, and Democratic influencer and president of the immigration nonprofit Migrantes Unidos, Carlos Eduardo Espina. It's great to have you both here. Harrison, I want to start with you. What do you think this means for the Trump administration, this particular saga, this particular story, and its widening global reach right now?
Yeah, I think many of the Trump administration probably expect some of this because they are the ones that are uncovering the largest scandal, which was covered up the last 4 years. There is a reason why the Epstein files are being discussed today. Because this president, Donald J. Trump, his attorney general, Pam Bondi, who I also worked for when she was Florida attorney general, actually did what they said they were going to do on the campaign trail and released the files. Has the process been perfect? Absolutely not. Does there need to be more transparency? 1,000%. I think that's going to be a commitment of the administration because it was a campaign promise, and we're seeing them roll that out now.
But you would acknowledge, Harrison, would you not, that the administration was not an early advocate of the Epstein transparency legislation when it was a discharge petition in the House and only came around when it was clear that they could not keep that dam locked?
Well, the president and the DOJ made it clear that they were going to release the files. Was it going to take longer than many people wanted? Yes, I'd grant you that. But the reality is they did it. And what we're seeing, unfortunately, it's becoming a political issue. The Democrats were radio silent on the Epstein issue when Joe Biden had a DOJ for 4 years. Where were they? They were absolutely missing in action. So now they have a political weapon, really the only tool in their toolbox, because they can't talk about the border. It's secure. They can't really talk about the economy. It's doing better than it was under President Biden. So they're using this as a political tool, as a distraction from the achievements of the administration. I just hope that both sides can come together, allow the process to work out. The president signed the bill. It's going to be messy. At the end of the day, we want to give justice to the victims, and I believe this DOJ will get there.
Carlos, your thoughts on this? Because as Sky and Amanda said on my program, yes, there were faults in other previous administrations, but right now they do not see things that live up to the letter or the spirit of the law. So take it.
Well, I think we should just all take a step back. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, are making this such a political issue of, I'm hoping this gets revealed or this person falls. I think I'm on the mindset of most Americans, which is whoever is implicated should fall. I don't care if they're a Democrat. I don't care if they're a Republican. I'm a good friend of Ro Khanna, and I really appreciate the work he's doing with Thomas Massie. And I think this is an issue that should unite us as a country and say, hey, we can stand together against these rings of things that I can't even really get into detail. I mean, the evidence is there. And if it's a Democrat behind, if it's a Republican, if it's both, if it's neither, that needs to come out, and there needs to be people who need to pay the price for the things that they've done. I think we should all be behind that same message.
And do you detect the same contrast that Sky and Amanda noted that it seems to be a bigger issue in other countries than it is in ours right now?
Well, I do think that unfortunately, the Justice Department is not moving at the pace that people wish, that I wish. And I think I've even seen this from a lot of Republicans say, hey, I voted for this administration for transparency, for this, and that. And they're just not getting that at the moment. So I would like, people to start falling. I mean, we can't have all these things come to light and then there's no justice, there's no consequence. I think that's just despicable. And I think, I don't want to assume, hey, it's for this reason or that reason, but it is very questionable. It makes you think.
Harrison, I'd like to talk to you about something that also was on the program. Presidents in Rome, Georgia. That's Marjorie Taylor Greene's district. She's no longer in Congress. They had a very public breakup. He called her Marjorie Traitor Greene. Part of the source code for that breakup was her allegations that the administration was not taking the Epstein files seriously enough, not living up to the campaign promises that you referred to earlier. How do you evaluate that? What happened to that relationship and how it does or does not shine light on this particular Epstein matter?
Listen, Marjorie Taylor Greene was a fighter on the campaign trail. I went to many campaigns. Ferocious. And we all understood that. But when the president got sworn in on January 20th, she continued to make it all about herself. The president is the president for all Americans, not just Marjorie Taylor Greene.
And her 14th district of Georgia.
And her 14th district of Georgia. He cannot pick up every single call. He cannot be at the whim of one member of Congress. I think she made it a lot more about herself than anything else. What the president is doing here is making sure that, yes, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can release the files, but he really wants the main focus to be on what the American people voted and elected him to do, which was securing the border, making our economy better, pass the one big beautiful bill, historic tax relief for American families. He wants to focus on those big ticket items. He's solving world conflicts all across the globe. He wants to remain focused on things that he truly thinks matter, not the charade, which is the files.
Carlos, 30 seconds. You get to round us out.
Well, I think, we need to put the Epstein stuff behind us. We need to get justice, make sure everything is released.
That's how we put it behind us.
Yeah, that's how we put it. Yeah, we need, we need to
not bury it, but
no, not bury it. We need to expose everything, whoever needs to pay, whether it's Democrat, Republican, and then really comes down to what are we going to do for our country moving forward. I think we need to put away this division, this hatred, and at the same time understand that we want what's best for our country. I think the solution right now is Democrats. I think Trump has really lost the plot, but at the same time we can disagree respectfully without
We love to do that here, disagree respectfully. Carlos Eduardo Espina and Harrison Fields, thank you. It's great to have you both here. I appreciate it.